All right, folks, let's build some shutters. That's what I'm working on today. I got a bunch of rough cut 1x8s. I got a whole big stack of them over here, and I'm just pulling them off the stack. They've been drying for, I don't know, 8 months to a year, something like that. I don't even remember when I cut them, but that's what I'm going to build the shutters out of. And I'm going to rip these things in half. So I'm going to straight line them on both sides and just get them trued up on both sides. And then I'm going to rip them straight in half. So I'm probably going to end up being like 3.5 by 3.5 because they're 8 right now. Probably shrunk up to about 7 3/4. So I'll take just a skosh off each side and make sure they're straight. The shutters aren't but 5 feet long. These things right here are 12 feet long. So that's still going to leave me a 1x4 on both ends. 2 1x4s to make my cross members on the shutter. I'm going to leave a crack in between them and try to keep them. They might end up being 12, 14, maybe 14 inches wide is what I'm thinking, and then 5 feet long. And I've got a couple of 3-footers I'm going to have to build too. I think there's 3 of those, so that's 6 more. So there'll be 1 on both sides of the window. The door on the front, the big 8-foot door, we've got some doors that we bought at a salvage place. The same door that you see, the rolling door that's in the house, the one with I'm going to try to incorporate one of those on both sides of the door, and it's going to be false. I mean, it's not actually going to cover the door, but it's going to be like a storm thing, but it's going to be stained the same color as all the shutters, and of course those beams and everything that's on the outside of the house. So I think I'm going to wind up putting fascia on the rafter tails that's on the carport and the lean-tos off the side. I'm not going to cover the big beams up top. I think I'm going to put a fascia on those lean-tos, and like I said, the carport. So I'm going to put a treated one to cover those rafter tails. And then we're just going to stain the big beams that's hanging out the top. We'll do a video on that later on. But right now, let's build some shutters. Let's see how these things turn out. Fixing to bust the mill off and start straight lining and ripping. This is the fastest way to rip. I mean, table saw will work fine for all of this, but this thing right here is a whole lot faster because I can do 24 at the time. I can cut 24 inches wide, so it's a whole lot faster than running them all through a table saw. Y'all hang in there. We're going to make some shutters. All right, so you stain that a dark brown color, and that's going to look pretty slick, I think. 14 inches wide, 5 feet high. And then I've got some 3-footers I've got to build. And they're all, like I said, they're going to be stained. But the reason I went with that pattern like that is because that door is like the same thing. And I want that to match, I want everything to match up a little bit. So those doors are going to be, we're going to put those on both sides of the front door. Like a dummy, like a false shutter for the doors. So that's all I got to do is just cut them and bump them together. And I'm just using this one right here as a pattern because, I mean, they'll go either way. You can turn them either way you want to on the side of the window. Just flip it over and go one way, or flip it over and go the other way. Just lining it up. I started to leave a little reveal right here, but I said, no, I'll just go ahead and make it finished looking and just flush it with the end of it right there. But I started to leave like a 2-inch reveal, but you can do anything you want to. If you wanted to put an X on there, you could put an X. If you wanted these to both go, run parallel, like run it up to that corner, you could do that. Like I said, I'm just trying to match that door right there. And that way everything will sort of look halfway uniform anyway. Y'all hang in there and let's see how these things turn out. I've got a pile of them to build. All right, y'all, I got the 3-footer built. I got one of them. I got 5 more to build because we got 3 windows. Of course, they're paired on, both sides. Oh, this one you need to do opposite if you want it to be opposite on both sides of the window. So you'll have to run that board this way, just opposite of that one right there. On these out here, it's not going to make any difference. You can turn them any way you want to make them opposite, but just depending on which way you want them to face. And I don't know exactly which way we're going to face them yet. I sort of like that, the window being in the middle right here. I think that'll look pretty good. I used 1.5 inch galvanized staples on this thing, putting this thing together, but probably gonna go back with some screws and just to make sure, just to pull everything together and make sure, and gonna mount it, of course, to the wall with 3-inch screws too, through that metal into the lath. So That should hold up everything really good. And going to stain all the edges front and back just to make sure the moisture, doesn't get anywhere, doesn't get to that wood. I mean, we've got a 24-inch overhang plus another 5 inches of metal hanging out past that. So we should be good, and it shouldn't take, too much of a beating from the rain. But you can't never tell. I've had them on my house, probably the same thing, for probably 10 years, maybe a little longer than that now, and they're still holding up. They look just like they did when I put them up there. So, and just keep the stain on them. But I've stained those one time, so I don't know. It just depends. But what we're trying to do, these aren't functional shutters. They're just for looks. We're trying to break up some of that white, and we had planned on doing this from the beginning, just hadn't had a chance. And I know it's a short video, but just showing you all the construction of it. And then, like I said, we're gonna stain the edges, the back, and make sure we're good sealed up and protected from the weather. And we're gonna mount them on there. Dark brown color probably is what she's gonna go with, or a darker brown, just to give that building some color, especially on the sides. The front and the back, of course, we're gonna stain the porch gables and all of that. So that's going to give it some color in the front, especially with those two big doors, on both sides of the entrance door in the middle. It'll give it some color. It's going to look good, I promise you. Nothing special, I know. They're just ordinary deal, but just trying to save a little money and do it all ourselves. But something different anyway. Hope y'all enjoyed the video, and I appreciate y'all.